So I found more materials you can work with, and it will help you to improve your level of English. So let's start. The Brits. Is it true? Four foreigners who live in Britain talk about the things people say about the British. British people drink tea at 5 o'clock. It's true that British people drink a lot of tea and coffee, but they don't drink tea at a special time. I work for a British company here, and my boss drinks tea all the time. It rains a lot. It rains a lot, but it doesn't rain every day. Be careful because the weather changes quickly. I always take an umbrella when I go out. British people like animals. I have a lot of friends here and they all have a dog or a cat. One family that I know has 2 dogs and 5 cats. British people love animals. The food in Britain isn't very good. The restaurants are quite expensive, but they are great, and the food is good in a lot of pubs too. I share a flat with a Scottish boy, and he cooks every night. He watches all the cooking programs on TV, and he makes great curries. Starbucks, summer, and other things I love about Britain. Britain isn't a good place for cyclists, but for pedestrians it is wonderful. When you walk on a zebra crossing, all the drivers stop. British banks are great. You do everything online and you don't pay when you take money out of an ATM. And if you want to change banks, the banks do all the work, not you. The British are very polite when they drive, they don't hoot, and they are patient with other drivers. They always say thank you when you let them pass. Chemists in the UK are wonderful, friendly shops and completely different from US pharmacies. Boots sell everything you want, not just medicine, and the shop assistants give you good advice. Britain is one of the only places in the world where people don't have ID cards. In the US, you need ID when you buy a drink, go to a club, use a credit card, or take an intercity train. I love British summers. A good summer day in Britain is dry and warm, but not very hot. Starbucks isn't British, of course, but I prefer the Starbucks in Britain. They are nice, friendly places where people read the newspaper and drink good coffee. And the waiters don't write your name on the cups. I feel stupid in America when the waiter calls Mark your tall cappuccino with extra chocolate. Uniforms, for or against? Our uniform is okay. I like the colors, gray and red. The only thing I don't like are the tie because it's difficult to put on and the skirt because I prefer trousers. I think uniforms are a good idea. Everybody looks the same and it's easy to get dressed in the morning. I don't need to think about what to wear. Our uniform is dark trousers and a white nylon top, a bit like a nurse's uniform. We can't wear anything over the uniform, so it's quite cold in the winter and it gets dirty very easily because it's white. I'm not against uniforms, but my uniform just isn't practical. Our uniform is very simple, a dark blue jacket and trousers and a white shirt and tie. I like it, it's nice and comfortable, so I'm happy to wear it. And I think it's important that people can see where we are when they need help. Kevin, he is 28, he lives in South London, he likes films, music, he doesn't like football. Samantha, she is 26, she lives in South London, she likes the cinema and good food. She doesn't like sport. Father and daughter, whose day is more stressful? Nico is a chef and has his own restaurant, The Blue Jar. He lives in Chile with his wife and her 3 children, aged 16, 12, and 9. I get up and make breakfast for the children, then I have breakfast, a coffee and cereal, and I read the sports section of the paper. I go to the market to buy fruit and vegetables for the restaurant. When I get to the restaurant, I check the reservations and my emails and plan the special menu of the day. I have my second cup of coffee. I start cooking. The radio is on and we are busy with breakfast orders, but we also have to prepare the food for lunch. I check the tables and I have my third coffee. Suddenly everyone arrives at the same time and the restaurant is full on a good day. I start to shout instructions at the chefs and waiters. We make lunch for 85 people in about an hour and a half. I come into the restaurant and talk to the customers and ask if they are happy with the food. I'm really hungry now. Finally, I have lunch. I don't enjoy it very much because I don't have time to relax. After lunch, I go back to the kitchen and plan the food for the evening menu. I go home to be with the family for a couple of hours. The children do their homework and I make their dinner. I go back to the restaurant, which is full again, and I check everything is okay. I go home and have a shower. Then I collapse on the sofa with a sandwich and a glass of wine. I go to bed, ready to start again the next day. Doctors are worried that today's teenagers have a very unhealthy lifestyle and may not live as long as their parents' generation. Research shows 30% of teenagers never have breakfast. They eat fast food at least 2 or 3 times a week, and 75% hardly ever eat fruit or green vegetables. They don't usually sleep 8 hours a day. 30% sleep only 4 to 7 hours. They are often tired in the morning. They spend about 31 hours online every week. A lot of teenagers never do sport or exercise. What to do in London when it's very cold? Go ice skating at Somerset House. Somerset House is a beautiful 18th century building on the river Thames. In the winter, the area in front of the house is made into an ice skating ring. There is a skating school where you can have lessons, and there are also late night sessions and DJ nights. In November and December, there is an enormous Christmas tree, and the cafe serves special Christmas food. When it's raining, go to South Kensington and visit 3 wonderful museums. You can walk from one to the other because they are all very near. The Science Museum is very popular with adults and children, and also the Natural History Museum, which has life-size robotic dinosaurs and other fascinating exhibits. The third museum, the Victoria and Albert Museum, is full of art and design from all over the world. It has an amazing collection of fashion from the 17th century to the present day. And if the sun comes out, cross the road into Kensington Gardens, one of London's many parks, and visit the famous statue of Peter Pan. When the sun is shining, go to Hampstead Heath, London's biggest park. From the top of Parliament Hill, in the south part of the Heath, you can see many of London's famous monuments, including St. Paul's Cathedral and the London Eye. Have a picnic, and then, if it's hot, walk to the open-air swimming pool where you can swim with plants and trees all around you. It is a magical place, and you can't believe that you are in the middle of a capital city. Music is changing their lives. Inside the concert hall, a top orchestra is playing brilliantly. Their young conductor, Gustavo Dudamel, is one of the best in the world. But we are not in New York, London, or Vienna. We are in Caracas, the capital of Venezuela. The orchestra is the Simons Bolivar Youth Orchestra, and its conductor and young musicians come from the poorest families in the country. They are a product of El Sistema, the system in Spanish, a project started in 1975 to save poor children from crime and drug addiction through classical music. Today, more than 270,000 young Venezuelans from the barrios, poor areas in Caracas, are learning to play instruments. They practice Beethoven and Brahms instead of learning to steal and shoot. Gisela, aged 11, says, "I'm learning the viola because I want to escape from the barrio. In Venezuela now, it's cooler to like Strauss than salsa." Edgar, 22, who plays in the orchestra, says, "Sometimes when we finish late, I stay in town. It's dangerous to go home at that time. But now most of my friends are here. We're a family as well as an orchestra." Dudamel is now also the musical director of the Los Angeles Philharmonic, one of the USA's top orchestras. But he returns frequently to Caracas to conduct. "I miss my orchestra, but I will never leave them. They're family," he says. Dublin, the friendly city. People don't usually think of capital cities as friendly, but people told me that Dublin is the exception, so I went there to see if it was true. And it was. Local people greet you like an old friend, they want to know everything about you and about your day. The tourist guides are really friendly. For example, at the Guinness factory, somewhere you must go, they offer you a free glass of Guinness. The bus drivers on the tour buses, an excellent way to get around Dublin, tell very interesting and amusing stories about all the buildings and monuments they go past. They stop at all the main tourist attractions, for example, Phoenix Park, the home to Dublin Zoo, St. Patrick's Cathedral, and the main shopping areas, Grafton Street and O'Connell Street. When you want something to eat, the Temple Bar area is the place to go. Even in the restaurants, Irish people want you to be happy. They often sit you at tables with other people, and the waiters tell jokes when they serve the food to make you laugh. In general, the food is great and very good value for money. There are lots of things to see, and hotels are cheap. How can you not be happy and friendly with all that? The man who wrote Sherlock Holmes. Arthur Conan Doyle was born in Edinburgh on 22nd of May 1859. He studied medicine at Edinburgh University, and as a student he began writing short stories. He became a doctor in the south of England, but at first he didn't have many patients. So in his free time he began writing stories about a brilliant detective, Sherlock Holmes. Conan Doyle based Holmes' personality on his professor at university. Holmes, who lives at 22nd Baker Street in London, is famous for solving difficult crimes and mysteries using his great intelligence. The Sherlock Holmes stories soon became very popular, but in 1893 Conan Doyle became tired of his detective and decided to kill him. In the final problem, Sherlock Holmes and his enemy, Professor Moriarty, die when they fall off the Reichenbach Falls in Switzerland. But people were very unhappy to lose Sherlock Holmes, and there were letters in many newspapers asking for him to come back. Finally, in 1901, Conan Doyle brought him back in a new story, The Hound of the Baskervilles. He explained that Holmes didn't die in the Reichenbach Falls, but miraculously survived. Conan Doyle died on 7th of July 1930, but Sherlock Holmes continues to live both in the stories and in many film versions. Recently, he was the inspiration for the character Dr. Gregory House in the TV series House. What I ate yesterday. Breakfast. I never miss breakfast. I had some cereal and fruit and a piece of toast. I'm a bit unusual because I have tea and coffee in the morning. I don't mind in which order, but I need to have both. I was at my studio all day, so I got takeaway vegetarian sushi from a restaurant called Itsu. I became a vegetarian 20 years ago, and now I can't imagine living any other way. Dinner. I picked up my children from school and we had a snack, cheese and biscuits. In the evening I went to my favorite pizzeria and I had a vegetarian pasta dish and 2 glasses of white wine. Breakfast. I woke up and went running for an hour and a half, then I came home and had a cup of tea and some porridge. Then I went to the gym and trained. Lunch. I had a bowl of pasta with chorizo and bacon in tomato sauce, with cheese on top, and an apple and an orange. I have an important fight soon, so my diet has to be very strict now. 3 meals a day and no snacks. Dinner. I had a grilled chicken breast and vegetables, mushrooms, sweet corns, and tomatoes. My mom made it. She's a fantastic cook. Breakfast. I had an enormous cup of espresso coffee with some milk and a little cream. It's all that I need and gives me energy for the whole day. Lunch. I don't eat lunch. I don't understand people who can eat 3 meals a day. How do they find the time to do anything else? Dinner. First I had a glass of sherry and a bowl of popcorn. Then I had grilled fish with some brown rice and vegetables, peppers and onions. For dessert I had a piece of chocolate cake. I drank red wine. Who Wants to Be a Millionaire? A quiz show where contestants can win a maximum prize of £1 million if they can answer multiple choice questions which become more and more difficult. Contestants have three possibilities of getting help. They can ask the audience, reduce the four choices to two, or they can phone a friend. Mastermind, a quiz program where contestants answer questions on a specialist subject which they choose and then answer general knowledge questions. The British diet, still unhealthy. Britain has a problem with obesity. More than 50% of the population are fat or overweight, and the government says we need to have a healthier diet. However, British shoppers are continuing to fill their supermarket baskets with unhealthy food. A survey of 12 million consumers showed that 44% of people have the same unhealthy eating habits that they had 4 years ago. The survey also found that shoppers who normally have a very healthy diet start buying junk food, e.g. frozen pizzas, crisps, and cakes, and there is a crisis in their lives, for example, divorce, moving house, or losing a job. Another thing the survey showed is that there is not much difference in price between a healthy shopping basket and an unhealthy one. A typical healthy basket costs on average 71.78 pounds compared with 71.18 pounds for an unhealthy one. Martin Hyard, the director of the study, said many people don't eat healthily because they worry that healthy food is more expensive, but the survey shows that this is not true. We believe the reason why some people eat unhealthily is because they don't know how to cook, so they buy ready-made meals. I think people drive quite dangerously, which surprised me because I thought they were careful drivers here. They don't drive fast, but people are always on the phone in the car, which you don't see in the UK nowadays. The food. The food can be delicious, but I think people eat very unhealthily. In restaurants, they often add salt to their food, and they drink liters of Coke. The headquarters of the Coca-Cola company is based here, and they even have a Coca-Cola museum. Once I went to a coffee shop and asked for a double espresso, no milk, no sugar. I had to repeat my order 3 times because the waitress couldn't understand me. She said people here only ask for lattes and cappuccinos with lots of sugar. The people. In general, people are very friendly. The people I'm staying with who live just outside the city know all their neighbors really well. They often don't lock their doors, which surprised me because people say it's a dangerous city. They speak incredibly slowly with a strong accent, and sometimes I have a problem understanding them. The weather. It's December and it gets dark at about 3 p.m., which is depressing. There's a lot of snow at the moment, but all the buses and trains are running perfectly, not like in Britain where everything stops when it snows. The houses. All the houses are painted in pretty colors like red, green, and blue, and many houses have a yellow and blue flag. Inside the houses are decorated beautifully with lots of flowers and modern wooden furniture. The people. People are friendly and polite, but quite formal. They dress fashionably but casually, and of course you see a lot of very blonde women here. You also see a lot of men who are looking after very young babies. Everybody speaks English really well, maybe because a lot of the TV is in English with subtitles. Sir Ian McKellen is one of Britain's greatest actors. He was born in Burnley in the north of England on 25th of May 1939. He first became well known as an actor for his roles in Shakespeare's plays, for example Hamlet and Macbeth. In recent years, he has had many important film roles including James Whale in Gods and Monsters, Gandalf in the Lord of the Rings trilogy, and Magneto in X-Men. What kind of music do you like? I hardly ever listen to music at home, I prefer going to concerts. I enjoy classical music and pop, but my favorite kind of music is traditional American jazz. What book are you reading at the moment? I'm reading The Hammersteins, a biography of the American theater family, written by Oscar Andrew Hammerstein. Who's your favorite historical character? Perhaps William Shakespeare. What time do you usually get up in the morning? If I'm working, I get up 1 hour before I have to leave the house. If I'm not working and I went to bed late the night before, I get up at about 10 in the morning. How much time do you spend a day on the internet? I can very easily spend 3 or 4 hours on the internet answering emails, reading news, etc. I think of the internet as a wonderful encyclopedia of information. How do you relax? I enjoy late night Sudoku, but especially being with friends. What's your favorite room in the house? Perhaps the living room where I cook and eat and from where I can see the river Thames in London. What do you always have on your desk? I always have too many letters, papers, and books which are waiting for me to read. Do you have any pets? I love dogs, but I can't have one because I'm often away from home. What languages do you speak? I only speak English, but I can remember a little of the French I learned at school. Can you play a musical instrument? No. Is there something you would like to learn to do? Yes, many things. For example, to sing well, to play the piano, and to speak foreign languages. What's your favorite place in London? I love the River Thames and the views from its many bridges. Where are you going to go for your next holiday? I'm going to go to India for the first time in February. What's the most beautiful city you've ever visited? I can choose between Edinburgh, Prague, and Venice. What was your first job? The first money I earned as a professional actor was when I was a student at Cambridge University in 1959. I played small parts in audio recordings of Shakespeare's plays. When did you first read The Lord of the Rings? I read it first when I was preparing to play Gandalf in the movie trilogy. What was the best and worst thing about filming The Lord of the Rings? The best thing about filming was discovering the countryside and people of New Zealand, but the worst thing was living away from home for a year or more. Amy Johnson is an American who lives and works in England. We asked her to tell us about her first impressions of the UK. One of my first impressions was that the UK is more expensive than the US. I live in Oxford and the cost of living, rent, bills, food, etc. is higher than in Ohio, where I'm from in the US. The only thing that is a lot cheaper here is healthcare. It's free to go to the doctors or to hospital, whereas in the US it isn't. So you need to have health insurance, which can be very expensive. I think you can eat very well in England. There's a wide variety of food from all around the world: Chinese, Japanese, Italian, Turkish, etc. But eating out is more expensive than in the US, and the service is worse. Generally, I'd say British food is healthier than American food, and the portions are a lot smaller too. As for the people, I find British people quite pessimistic compared to Americans who are usually very positive and optimistic about the future. Also, when I'm in Ohio, I talk to everybody: shop assistants, the person behind me in the supermarket queue, the person sitting next to me in the restaurant, but I can't do that in the UK. People are much more reserved. But on the other hand, I think it is easier to make real friends here than in the US. I also find British people are not very good at telling what they really think, or in a work situation saying something negative about you. Americans just say things as they are. Stamford Bridge is a small village in the north of England near York. It is about 230 miles, 370 kilometers from London. It has a population of 3,500 people. It is famous for a battle between the English and the Vikings in 1066. Jamie Hamilton. Hometown: I'm from Scotland, but I live in London. Occupation: I'm a graphic designer. I work for an international company. Languages: I speak English and a little Italian. Music: I like pop and rock. I don't like classical music or jazz. Films: I like British and European films. I love all Italian films. TV: I watch the news in the evening and football at the weekend. Sport: I play tennis and I go to the gym. Christina, a university student from Madrid. My favorite day of the week is Saturday because it's the first day of the weekend. I get up very early during the week, so on Saturday it's nice to get up late and I always stay in bed until about 10:30. Then I usually go shopping with a friend. In Spain, shops are closed on Sundays, so Saturday is the only day for shopping. We don't always buy anything, but we have fun just looking. I often have lunch with my mother and my brother. It's great because my mom is a really good cook and she always makes things we like, and my brother and I have time to talk about our week. After lunch, I sometimes study from about 4 to 6 o'clock, especially if I have exams. In the evening, I usually go out with my friends. We often go to the cinema and then we have a pizza or tapas. I never go to bed before 1 o'clock or sometimes later. Do you want a cheap holiday? Write the description of your house or flat and say where you want to go. Post the description on our website and find someone to swap homes with. My home, flat in North London. My flat is in a quiet street in Hampstead, northwest London. It's on the first floor. It has 2 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, a living room, a study, and a kitchen. The kitchen is quite big and there's a table and chairs so you can eat there. There's a sofa bed in the study so you can use it as an extra bedroom. The bedrooms have a great view and you can see many London landmarks like the London Eye and St. Paul's Cathedral. The flat doesn't have a garden, but it's very near Hampstead Heath, a beautiful big park. It's a 5-minute walk from shops and bus and underground stations, and about a 30-minute train ride from Oxford Street in the center of London. Okay, that's it for now. Don't forget to press a like button on this video and subscribe to my channel. Thank you for watching.